You watched Nate and I put the trusses up on his shop. Well, he's got it done. The inside looks really nice, and it gives me a chance to do something I've never done before, and that's make a semicircular piece of millwork for his door. Come check this out. So as you can see, he did a good job with, kind of tying this in. It's a multi-purpose building now. It's nothing like my shop, but we came up with a bunch of alder, Oregon red alder. He's got a nice stain on it. He's got a wainscot. He's got trim around his doors and the windows are cool. So what this does is it gives me a chance to use this alder, and I've got a stack of it, to make a piece of millwork that'll conform to that half-round door. If you're interested in a steel door like this, the description will have the information how you can get a hold of Nate and what he's got going. It's a cool product. It's a heavy, solid door. But anyway, I've got to cut some alder boards, miter them, biscuit joint, and then figure a way to cut a nice smooth radius on the outside and on the inside. I've never done it before, but I think maybe we can figure it out. Let's get to it. First thing we've got to do is make a template, but true confessions, I did this yesterday, and I had marginal success because I'm not a woodworker yet, and I didn't want to look like a complete idiot when I was doing this. So fingers crossed, let's make our template and see if we can do this 2 days in a row. So I think that this is the spring line, the transition between semicircle and vertical legs. I'm going to check a dimension here and here. Let's see how we've done. Yep, 17 5/8 and 2 7/8 beyond that. Yep. We're going to move forward like we have confidence in that by swinging these arcs. All right, that's a pretty faithful representation of what I think this thing needs to be. So the decision how many pieces was driven by how wide my material is, so the arc would be contained inside the width of the board, and the fact that I wanted an odd number of pieces, so there would be a keystone appearance at the top. It's interesting that in design, you almost have to have an odd number of items so that our eyes can identify the center point. With symmetry on each side, it's just more pleasing. So in this case, 5 was a magic number. Some trial and error with this old set of dividers. By the way, these are made in a blacksmith shop somewhere. That rivet was set on there by hand, hot. Trial and error, I started from the spring line on the inside. Put a scratch. Put a scratch. Pretty close. So those of you who are math wizards are pointing out right now that these triangles, with the radius as one side and 2 sides, and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 joints, which means there are 10 18-degree angles. You got 180 degrees around here, and you're going to make 10 angled cuts. That's 18 per. So you would know, you would have enough information to use trigonometry to find out what that chord length is. But I'm not doing that. I just used this thing and trial and errored it. It probably took me 3 minutes, and I got what is very workable. Sometimes the direct approach is the way to go. So let me go through that bit one more time. I think I hit on it, but I'm not sure. With the boards this long, and 5 of them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cuts that will be made on the ends of boards to make 180 degrees. 180 divided by the 10 cuts means each cut has to be cut at 18 degrees. Seems reasonable to me, and the real world has verified that my calculation was correct. So I'm numbering these from right to left. So I'm numbering the one on the furthest right at 5, marking the template, calling this 4, cutting around the knots, or at least the big knots. This becomes 3, which is the keystone piece in appearance. Oh, that puts that knot in there. I'm skipping it. Here's number 2. This board is wider than this one. I'm putting the extra width to the inside of the radius because I barely made it on the other one. So there is number 2. Jumping over that knot, we're going to have 5 nice pieces. And I'm going to cut a 6th one just in case something goes bad. So there's the inside and the outside of the radius, and I'm going to biscuit joint these. And so I want to mark this so the biscuit is buried, hidden, not creeping out. And I almost got it wrong. That's got to be about on this side. Yeah, 1 3/4. Let's see how it is over here. I think it's the same. Yeah, 1 3/4 center. So clearly, boys, I'm not a woodworker yet. Maybe by the time I die. So I am counting on you guys to straighten out my inefficiencies and mistakes here in the comments, because the comments are where the value happens on this channel, and people read it intending to learn something. So let the hive mind talk to us about a better way. So I bought this for a job 10, 12 years ago, and then I didn't use it until the bench. That's how adept I am with a biscuit jointer. But you can do the same thing with a particular router bit for 30 or 40 bucks, so you don't have to spring for the big money if you're just making a few of these. So I learned from Bourbon Moth, what a woodworker that guy is, and he just lives up the road from me, something that all you guys knew, and that is you can combine super glue and wood glue, and the super glue will act as a clamp, and the wood glue will provide the muscle over time. So I'm going to put a little wood glue right in here around the biscuit. Slather a little on there. Put the biscuit in. Super glue. Super glue. Okay, so our glue is set up. It's clamped down, screwed down from the back, and I've recreated the position of the pivot to compare with the 2 radii, and we have bearing everywhere. Yep, so now the question is, how do I make that cut? And the answer is with a router. Man, there are some great videos. I think I mentioned Bourbon Moth. There are others who show us exactly how to do that. This is the appliance that I banged out yesterday. A little rough. You take the base plate off your router. See how that hole blew out? See how embarrassed I am to show it to you? But you take the base plate off the router, use it to establish the holes. In this case, countersink the holes a mile because I'm using a 3/4 inch piece of junk alder. And you start lowering oh, and this is a 1/2 inch spiral cut, upcut router bit. So the chips tend to come up. It's a very hungry bit. I think the pivot that I established yesterday is going to go in here. I hope. Clamps have got to go. It's got to be fastened to the table. It's already fastened to the table. This has to be screwed down. Yes, whoops, almost forgot. So I've got a mark there. I'm maybe eighth of an inch. I'm going to take about another quarter. Is that greedy? I'll let you know in a second. Look at that, my friends. Super glue for the win on this deal. Okay, it's showtime. I jigged up so that the leg width remained the same on these little pieces of case that go down the side. If you didn't watch the intro, you're wondering why this is half a door. And if you watch the intro, it's because you know these legs are going to sit down on a wainscot that Nate's got in his shop. I'm going to sand this off, pull it out of the jig, and we will go out there with our fingers crossed. So I think this thing's built. I really think it's going to fit, and I know it's going to look good. I mean, alder is everywhere in here. He's got it on the wainscot. He's got it on the floor. Western red alder. Pretty nice. And I think it's going to look good on that iron door. That's a Sonic door. Sonic. Nate sells those things now. It's heavy. It's strong. It's permanent. And I think that nobody's coming in if you don't want them in. And so let's put this piece of molding up here. Let's just make sure that it's what we want. Yeah, so far so good. Look at that, sports fans. Looks like we've done it. All right, so I think we need a drum roll right now, but I think I'm going to put a nail right there. Oh, gonna have to countersink that. Lines up with the wainscot. Spread it just a little. Try it again. Yes, and yes. And that's that. Let's show you that other cool door, the floor that's also out of the same wood, and we'll call it a wrap. Pretty heavy. Wow. Look at that. Check out this other door.
And flip that 180 degrees. There you go.
Look at that. Boy, that's a window wall deluxe. And then the floors, the same boards. So alder's a little softer than some of the Oregon hardwoods, but hard enough for a floor. J&B Wood Products has a little operation for taking Oregon hardwoods and turning them into nice flooring material, tongue and groove, all sorts of configurations. Looks nice in here. So if you're asking yourself, how do you get away with putting a real, honest to goodness, just like Mother Nature made it, hardwood floor down over concrete, the answer is you've got to control any water that's down there with vapor barriers. I think that Nate had a vapor barrier down below the grade and then the concrete, and I know that he put a vapor barrier down on top of the concrete. If you're thinking of doing this, you know, protecting a hardwood floor from the moisture in a slab, there's a test. You can put a piece of tin foil on the concrete, tape it carefully with a vinyl tape, several places around your slab, and then come back and just see how much condensation is happening on the bottom of the tin foil, which is at the top of the concrete, and at least get a sense of whether or not you dare go ahead and do what Nate did here, and that is Tapcon through vapor barrier 3/4 inch plywood for a substrate that can be nailed to. Anyway, it looks good. The track appears to be industrial grade, very smooth. The latches are bulletproof. These are a nice, smooth operating door system. Let me just close this so you can get a look at that. So my first job as a carpenter was here in Roseburg in 1976 or 7 or something. And aluminum windows were the thing. I mean, they were the solution, right, from old wood sashes and all of that. Problem was, you know, the gas leaked out, and pretty soon you couldn't see through them. And the condensation on the inside was just out of control, like all the time. You get temperature differential and humidity, and they would sweat and they would run down. Well, these things have solved that. And so it puts aluminum windows back on the table as an option because there's a thermal break. That's intriguing, right? That the temperature differential does not have an easy course from the outside to the inside, and so you don't have the same problem that we had in the past with sweating on the inside of aluminum windows. So I don't know. I mean, they don't give these things away, but you don't have to replace them either. Pretty nice. I'm glad I got a chance to put a piece of molding around the top of that door. I've never cut radius trim before. But I guess I didn't need to be afraid of it, did I? It's all just work. It's just work. You take the tools you've got and you use them the best way you can, and if you don't get it right the first time, odds are it's going to be better the second time. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.